Good morning. We will start a new chapter, a second chapter on biology, that is microorganisms, friend and foe. So, what is this chapter about? We are studying about microorganisms, a friend and foe. That means, is it a friend to us or is it an enemy to us? The meaning of foe is a enemy. How microorganisms are friendly to us and how it friendly to us in the sense how they are useful to us and how they are enemy to us, that is in case how they affect us, so that our body gets affected by that. Not only our body, let that be plants, animals and anything else. So how are these microorganisms useful and they are in the terms of enemy, that is not useful to us, we will be studying in this chapter. Basically, when we talk about microorganisms, what are microorganisms? Where are these microorganisms? Are these microorganisms everywhere? Yes, they are everywhere wherever we are. For example, how much ever you clean your house, you use sanitizer, anything, there are microorganisms present everywhere. You open the door handle has some microorganisms. You sit on a chair has some microorganisms. You shake hands with anybody, there are microorganisms, right? So there's a new rule now not to shake hands with anybody, but we can just join our hands and we can greet them. That's only because there are microorganisms everywhere. Then how do we know that there are microorganisms? Because we are not able to see these microorganisms, right? So how do we define microorganisms? The organisms which we cannot see with our naked eyes are called as microorganisms. This can be one definition, or the organisms which are visible only under a microscope are called as microorganisms. This could be another definition. I just repeat, the organisms which are visible only under a microscope are called as microorganisms. So, which are the types of microorganisms we will be studying in this chapter? We will be studying about bacteria, fungi, protozoa, algae and virus. So, we will start with each of the microorganisms. We will understand what are these, about their functions, are they friend to us or foe to us, we will be seeing in our subsequent classes. So, we have divided microorganisms in terms of bacteria, fungi, protozoa, algae and virus. So, at the first, what is a bacteria? So, bacteria are mostly unicellular organisms. Now, the word unicellular is something first time what you are hearing in 8th grade, right? We have a chapter called cell in biology in 8th grade only. We will be studying in that about a cell chapter. There we will study what are unicellular, what are multicellular. But here, for your understanding, unicellular organisms means basically there are two types of organisms, unicellular and multicellular. Uni means one, cellular means cell. That means organisms having single cell is called as a unicellular organism. Then organisms having multiple cells, many cells are called as multicellular organisms. Now we come under multicellular organism because in our body there are various organs. So these organs will perform various functions. For example, we have a different circulatory system, we have digestive system, we have respiratory system, excretory system. Each organ will perform the specific function, right? That is because group of cells in our body will make a tissues, and these group of tissues will make a organ, and which makes a, and similar organs which we can make a organ system. What we talk about. We'll come back again. So here when we say a single cell is responsible for all activities in the body. Now like in our body, we have a separate organ for digestion, respiration, circulation, what we told. In single cell, one cell will do all these activities, right from digestion, right from excretion, everything is performed by one single cell. So, bacteria are unicellular organisms, single cell organisms. They are found mostly in colonies. Colonies is not the colonies where we stay. It is not like that. That means they are usually found in groups. You will not find, for example, if I have a chair, I am using this pen, board, anything. There are microorganisms present everywhere, right? That means I will not find one microorganism or one bacteria on the board, one on the chair, one on my pen. No. That means they appear or they are always in colonies. They are found in group. We have several microorganisms here. That means we have so many bacteria on this board, on the chair, everywhere. They are found in colonies. That means they are found in group. Now, basically, again in bacteria, there are 4 types of bacteria. Comma-shaped bacteria, that means the shape of a bacteria is in the shape of a comma. This is comma, right? Spherical-shaped bacteria, rod-shaped bacteria, which is in the form of a rod, spiral-shaped bacteria, right? That means in bacteria alone we have again different shapes. Comma shape, so we have 4 types as we told. It is in the shape of a comma, it is spherical shape, rod shaped and spiral shape. Different bacteria which are present. So some examples I have given here. Comma shaped bacteria, example could be Vibrio cholerae. Spherical shaped bacteria, example could be Streptococcus. Rod shaped bacteria, the example is E. coli. Spiral shaped bacteria, the example is Treponema. So these are names are quite complicated. You can remember one names of each. Yes. So again we'll see which bacteria causes what diseases later part of the chapter. So here we only understand now. In bacteria alone we have 4 types depending on their shape. So based on their shape we classify them, and these are the examples of these bacteria. We'll move to the second one, which is fungi. Now fungi are non-chlorophyll, I have written. You all have studied about the photosynthesis process in your earlier classes. So what is it? Green plants prepare food in the presence of sunlight, right? So with a green pigment called as a chlorophyll, which is called as a photosynthesis. That means in green plants there should be a pigment which is called as a chlorophyll, which is used in preparation of the food. So these are non-chlorophyll, means these will not prepare their own food, and if they are not preparing their own food, what are they doing? They are dependent on others for their food. So if you have learnt about the which can prepare their own food will come under autotrophs, which do not prepare their own food are called as heterotrophs, right? So autotrophs like green plants prepare their own food. Heterotrophs which do not prepare their food but directly or indirectly depend on the green plants for their food. Directly, example, if I take a rabbit, rabbit is directly depending on green plants for food. If I take tiger, tiger is depending on rabbit for the food. Example, directly or indirectly. So fungi are non-chlorophyll, that means they cannot prepare their own food. That means they depend on something else, some other sources for their food. That is why they can be saprophytic or parasitic. What do you mean by saprophytic? Saprophytic means they depend on the dead and decayed organic matter for their food. Now anything when there is a dead or decayed things, their fungus grows on them. That means fungus will feed on them, right? Any dead matter. Case 1. Parasitic. Parasitic means these will feed or these will stay, not feed, sorry. These will stay or live on the host body, either inside or outside. Now, living on the host body, for one example I can tell you here is, there are fleas on dogs, right? Simple, we call them as worms. What do these do? That will suck the blood of the dog, correct? Human beings, we also have lice or ticks on our head, which suck the blood. That means they are parasitic. These will feed or these will take their food from the host body, either staying outside or inside. If they are staying outside, that can cause some allergy reaction to the organism wherever it is feeding. If they are staying inside the host body, then they cause certain diseases. As I told about diseases, what they cause, either friendly or they are enemy to us, we will see that in the subsequent part later when we cover that. So fungi are basically non-chlorophyll. That means they are heterotrophs, do not prepare their food. They feed on other dead and decayed matter. That is why saprophytic, or they also live on the host body for their food. Example, yeast, mushrooms, molds. Now basically you all might have seen what is mold, right? Suppose you have a bread, and why not a bread? That can be anything, but basically bread we usually get to see that very easily. If you keep the bread for a long period of time, there we say fungus has grown on bread, right? If you have really closely observed them, you can see the fungus molds on them actually. That is actually called as molds. You can see that on the bread. The next microorganism will move to protozoa. Now these microorganisms, what we term as protozoa, are all basically aquatic. That means they are in water. So they are unicellular as well as multicellular. That means not fully developed like we human beings, but they are unicellular also, and some are multicellular also to perform the functions. Example, amoeba, paramecium. These are two examples of protozoa. Algae are also aquatic. We don't have much information here. As I told you now, we will only understand the names of these different microbes. They are examples. That's all here. Next part, we will be understanding what are the disease caused by them or how are they useful to us. So they are unicellular and multicellular both. They are aquatic. Amoeba and paramecium are the examples of protozoa. We'll move to the next one, algae. Algae are also aquatic. They are also found in colonies. That means we don't find them single algae. They are found in a group as we spoke about bacteria. They are unicellular also, multicellular also. I have written something here. They are autotrophic, means they can prepare their own food. They are photosynthetic plants, I can say. That means they perform photosynthesis process because they have green pigment chlorophyll present in them. So they are found in colonies. They are mostly aquatic. They can be unicellular or multicellular. Example, Chlamydomonas and Spirogyra. Now, if you have to know exactly what is algae, if you have visited the nearby pond, river or any water which is stagnant for a very long period of time, if you have seen a green layer on top of the water, that you might have seen, right? Nothing, that green layer is nothing but algae. Got it? So you find a green layer on the water, right? If the water is stagnant for a very long period of time, we usually see that in some ponds, etc. That is called as algae. Now we'll move to the last one here, virus, right? So, which we all have been talking about this since a quite period of time, correct? So, what is this exactly about? So, I think more than the other microorganisms, you all might have known much and more about the microorganism virus here, because day in and day out, we only speak about virus, at least in these coming days now, right? So, how are these actually? These are actually dead when they are outside the host body. I can talk. For example, if the virus is on the pen example, the virus is dead. It is not active. It is not alive. You all know this. But when it enters the host body, when it enters a living body, it starts becoming active. It will start reproducing and it will start its life cycle. So I need not explain much on this because you all know that. Now, you all know how coronavirus will stay on so many different objects, for example, on plastic how many hours, on metal how many hours, on wood how many hours, or on our clothes how many hours. But the virus, when enters our body, will start reacting or it will start becoming active. Until that, they are inactive. You can say they are dead. So, they start becoming active once they enters the host body. and they start reproducing and start their life cycle. They are quite dangerous, so it can be life-taking also. I have written the first, actually in your book they haven't mentioned anything about coronavirus, but I have written the first example as coronavirus because we all know about that. I have also written some other polio virus. Like that, there are many such viruses. So this is about microorganisms, types of microorganisms. So here we only understood which are the microorganisms, like what is microorganism, how are they divided, and what are those, and what are their examples. Now, if I have to talk about only here how my virus is different from any other microbes, that means how this virus is different from any other of these microbes. The only it is different about these viruses are actually dead virus when they are outside the body. Simple as that. Only they are active, they will start generating or they start reproducing or their life cycle will start or they are active only once it enters a living body, I can tell here. So that's the only difference between a virus and other microbes. Now when you talk about a bacteria, now the bacteria which is present outside or the bacteria which is sometimes present inside the body are both live, right? They are not like outside inactive and inside active. No, different types of bacteria will stay in different types of surrounding and environment, correct? Similarly here when I spoke about fungi, they are saprophytic, feeding on dead and decayed outside. Parasitic, that means they stay on the host body either internally, that is inside, or externally, outside. That is how these all microbes are different from virus, because virus is dead when it is outside, it is live when it is inside. So in today's class we only understood about these microbes and their examples. How is virus different from all these other microbes? In tomorrow's class we'll be again understanding much about where do these microorganisms live, what are the useful microorganisms to us, and how they cause diseases. So any doubt in today's class you can call on the same day of the video set. Thank you.